Okay, bear in mind when you watch this, this is the commander-in-chief speaking with graduates at West Point Military Academy.
A trophy wife. It didn't work out too well, but that doesn't work out too well, I must tell you. A lot of trophy wives, doesn't work out. But it made him happy for a little while at least. But he found a new wife. He sold his little boat and he got a big yacht. He had one of the biggest yachts anywhere in the world. He moved for a time to Monte Carlo and he led the good life. And time went by and he got bored. And 15 years later, the company that he sold to called him and they said, the housing business is not for us. You have to understand, when Bill Levitt was hot, when he had momentum, he'd go to the job sites every night. He'd pick up every loose nail. He'd pick up every scrap of wood. If there was a bolt or a screw laying on the ground, he'd pick it up and he'd use it the next day in putting together a house.
And look, I know that many of you may be quick to judge, but these graduates are now walking away with invaluable advice on trophy wives and yachts. Who among us isn't looking for this kind of poignant counsel, especially when it's most relevant, for 21 and 22-year-olds? At this point, why not just delve into a long, winding explanation on, tariffs?
Gone are the days where defending every nation but our own was the primary thought. We are putting America first. We have to put America first. We have to rebuild and defend our nation. And very shortly, you're going to see a nation better than it's ever been. And you see that with the trade. For years, we've been ripped off by every nation in the world on trade. We've been ripped off at the NATO level. We've been ripped off like no country has ever been ripped off, but they don't rip us off anymore. They're not going to rip us off anymore. And you're seeing it. You have to watch what we're doing on trade. I know it's not your primary thing, but it's quite important in all fairness. But watch, you'll see what's going on. You've been reading about it over the last few days. We're making deals with other nations that were nobody thought it would be even possible. And the reason is very simple. They respect us again. They're respecting our country again. That's what you want. And everything we do, we are bringing common sense back to America.
I know it's not your primary thing, Trump says to a graduating class of military school graduates while he freewheels about his tariff policy that is sending the United States into a recession. I mean, honestly, we are the only industrialized country in the world to see our economy contract this past quarter, and this guy is on stage bragging about how he's winning? If we want our military to be winners, why are they listening to a guy who is presiding over a losing trade war? Also, you gotta love how Trump says that we're not gonna get taken advantage of on trade anymore, suggesting that he is completely redoing our trade relationships. You know how many trade deals Donald Trump has inked since he's been in office? You ready for this? 1. With the UK, a country we have a trade surplus with. That's it. There aren't hundreds of countries clamoring to come to the negotiating table because if there were, you know what we would have? Trade deals. And you know what we don't have? Trade deals. Starting to see through this whole facade that Trump is erecting. And I know what you're thinking. At least it can't be dumber than this. Do I even have to say it?
And they've allowed people to come into our country that shouldn't be here. Criminals walk in, no vetting, no checking, no nothing. Where are they coming from? And they were taking people out of prisons. They were taking gang members. They were taking the mentally insane and allowing them to come in, and we're getting them out of our country. We have no choice. We're getting them out and bringing them back where they came from. Have no choice. And it's not easy. It's not easy. But hopefully the courts will allow us to continue. You know, we had the greatest election victory. This was November 5th, we won the popular vote by millions of votes. We won all 7 swing states. We won everything. We won 2,750 districts against 505. 2,750 against 505. We had a great mandate, and it gives us the right to do what we want to do to make our country great again, and that's what we're going to do. And
imagine being so insecure that you're already the president of the United States, the most powerful person in the world, and you have to constantly constantly remind people that you won the election. I mean, my God, if anyone watching is ever feeling down about yourself, at least remember that you're not so riddled with self-doubt that you feel the need to remind everyone, everywhere, at every single moment of your life, how great you are. I mean, this is a guy who used to hand out paper maps outlining the counties that he won. If you are in any way even 5% secure, you don't need to constantly remind people with a pulse how great you are, which I suppose explains exactly why Trump does. And just for good measure, in case everything wasn't already dumb enough, I present to you the President of the United States wallowing in victimhood on stage.
And the American people, because they're always going to be there for you. I went through a very tough time with some very radicalized, sick people. And I say I was investigated more than the great, late Alphonse Capone. Alphonse Capone was a monster. He was a very hardened criminal. I went through more investigations than Alphonse Capone. And now I'm talking to you as president. Can you believe this? Can you believe it? So you got to fight hard. You got to never give up. And don't let bad people take you down. You got to take them down. Got a lot of bad people out there, and those people, you have to figure it out. But you also have a lot of great people. Finally, hold on to your culture and your traditions, because that's what makes something really great. And that's what's made the Army great. The culture and the tradition.
Here's the thing. You don't get credit for being investigated and prosecuted more than Al Capone if you committed more crimes than Al Capone. Trump loves to pretend that these investigations happened in a vacuum, as opposed to the fact that all of them were well supported enough to warrant grand jury indictments and, in one instance, guilty verdicts from a jury of his peers, a jury that was approved by his attorneys, by the way, on every count he was charged with. All of which he got away with because he was elected president. He's trying to claim that he's the victim of an unjust judicial system when, in fact, him getting away with his crimes is precisely why it is an unjust judicial system. And yet still that won't prevent him from bitching and complaining on stage every chance he gets, even as president of the United States. Anyway, here's to hoping that these graduates at West Point display the integrity, the dignity, and the honor that Donald Trump is incapable of. The future of our country depends on a next generation of leadership that recoils at the self-serving, power-hungry politics that Trump and his minions employ on a daily basis. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.